Hello, everyone, and welcome to Waking Up Spiritually. This is Wendy Rose Williams with Gregg Kirk, and we're here the second and the fourth Sunday of the month live in the Waking Up Spiritually group on Facebook, as well as via the Zoom link that you can get from us. And so happy to have you here. And we're here at noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern for 30 to 60 minutes. And you're so welcome to join us live and to be able to participate and ask questions. And certainly can also get the benefit via the archives. So the archives are at wakingupspiritually.com. And I'm a past life adventure guide. And what I mean by that is I help people release energy that no longer serves you, things like pain, anxiety, and depression. I'm a past life regressionist as well as certified spiritual teacher and Reiki master. And my website is wendyrosewilliams.com. So over to you, Gregg, to please introduce yourself and set our invocation for the day.
Yes, I'm Gregg Kirk. I'm a light worker, energy healer. I do remote energy work as well as in-person sessions with tuning forks, doing everything from just mainly the goal is to look for blocks to your healing, and the complete flow of energy in your body. So you can find me at greggkirk.com. That's GREGGKIRK.com. And you can request a healing session with me anytime you want. So before we get started today, especially with this particular topic today, we're talking about energetic implants. It's would be good for us to put some protection around our broadcast today. So this is a protection ritual that I recite before every one of my in-person or remote sessions. So we're going to invoke Archangel Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, all the guides, guardian angels, healing entities, and non-physical beings who have all of our best interests in mind to provide healing, guidance, and protection for us during this broadcast. And we'd like to establish that we are all sovereign beings practicing free will, and we do not give permission for anything or anyone to enter our fields or our bodies without our consent, and we do not allow the mingling of our energies during this broadcast. Thank you all. So, this is kind of this topic is, it's an important one, but it's not altogether a pleasant one. It's a very much the idea that there are, just as people get physical parasites in their bodies, anything from a tick to an intestinal parasite, you can have the same idea on your energy body and not be aware of it. Some people become aware of it over time because things start to happen that they feel is out of their control. And, I had it happen to me years and years ago where things just started not going well in my life. I could tell it wasn't my fault, if that makes sense. And I can tell I just had this intuition that there was some intelligence behind it. So I didn't know what to do. And I just through a lot of research, I ended up finding somebody an energy worker. This is before I knew anything about any of this kind of stuff. And she was able to remove the entity from me. So, and it was a relative who had passed on. So, so let me distinguish. And so what exactly was happening was my relative who had passed was thwarting every one of my moves, like just making everything go wrong every second of the day.
Oh my goodness. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's very annoying. And it was very upsetting. So I got to a point where everything in my life was not going well for me after I felt like a pretty charmed life up to that point. So it just got to the point of ridiculousness. I actually talk about it in my book, The Gratitude Curve, that I've written. So check that out.
I was just gonna say that to people. You talked about it so powerfully there, because we talk in theory a lot of times about, oh, gee, I think I need to heal my ancestral line. But it's really different when you read your book chapter, Gregg. It gets real.
Yeah, this was different than, something like that. It wasn't so much, even though this was an ancestor of mine, it wasn't so much about healing the ancestral line, although maybe that needed to happen too. But the immediate issue was this guy had attached to me. And how these beings attach is through cords. So we all have a cord attached to our physical bodies from our energetic bodies. Excuse me, Robert Monroe, who wrote the book Journeys Out of the Body, and a couple of other books, and where he describes having conscious out-of-body experiences. He describes very well that, excuse me, what that's like, and usually they're attached to your chest. So how he got pulled back. Sometimes he would have an out-of-body experience and not want to come back, and he would feel himself pulled back, by his own body through this cord. Sometimes, so for attachments work very, very much in the same way. Now, the ones that are the cordal attachments, to distinguish, the ones I see are mainly human. So, and it could be somebody who's passed on, relative. Usually it's a relative, or it doesn't always have to be, and they attach to different parts of your energy body, sometimes by multiple cords. And what they're doing is they're getting something out of you, out of your energy. So think of a parasite. Think of a tick, for instance. So what does a tick get out of you? It feeds on your blood. It's getting sustenance from you, and it's running you down at the same time. That's how these energetic parasites work.
Right.
So
It's important. This is not symbiotic. It's not a relationship where there's, give and take, and it's healthy for both people. So that's the distinction I'm hearing.
exactly. So, which is a funny thing, because sometimes I see attachments of people who were benevolent in someone's past life, or in their present. They died. So in their life up to the point that they passed on, they were benevolent. But they enjoy having the experiences that you're having if you're doing a particular thing. And they get a thrill out of the experiences. And also, and this is a very interesting thing, I've done several in-person sessions where I've laid hands on somebody and seen the person's significant other, who's still alive, attached energetically by cords. So the person doesn't have to die to do this. The person can still be alive. And that was a particularly uncomfortable situation. It wasn't surprising how it happened. There was one session where I had a new patient, and he was a Lyme disease patient. So he heard about me, knew I had a specialty with Lyme disease, but he wanted an energy session. So, it was an in-person session with tuning forks. And I usually sit down with the person first and do a little a briefing with them, describing what's going to happen. And then we set the intention for the session. Well, his girlfriend came in, to the session, and she was kind of sniffing around like, what do you do? What is it? How does this work? And I've never had that.
Not in the physical, her energy was present. You could sense her energy.
No, she actually walked in the room.
Oh, she physically walked in the room.
And I've never had that happen where, prior to an energy session, somebody's significant other came in and started asking me questions, and very kind of suspiciously was asking me, well, what does this tuning fork do? How do you do, just really sticking her nose into the business, which, I'm fine with that. If it's not invasive, but so I wasn't shocked at all when, she wanted to stay in the room during the session. I said, no, we don't want the mingling of energies at all here. So you'll have to go. And as soon as I laid hands on his head, I saw her face, and I thought, okay, is this because she's on my mind? Because she was kind of so intrusive. No. And then I pulled back, and I saw she was attached to him by a couple of cords. So, I removed her. And by the way, when you remove these cords, it creates a wound on the host, and that needs to be healed. because if it,
Absolutely.
if it doesn't get healed, it remains a weak spot in the person's field, and then, it makes them vulnerable for more, future attacks
Right. You don't
from
want them to
other
a-
beings.
attract more low energy. You want to fill it up with whether it's white light or pink light or whatever is
Exactly.
appropriate for that person to
Right.
just lift them up.
And for the past few years, I've actually been asking the guides to help me fortify the area. So
Mhm,
it's not weak at all. It's actually strengthened. So there's no
mhm,
hole there. And in fact, there's not even any like scar tissue there. It's
mhm.
it's it's extra strong. So anyway, this woman came back in, when we did the debrief for the session where I explained what was going on. And I told her she had been energetically attached to her boyfriend, and I had her removed, and she was upset with that. Why would you do that? I mean him no harm, and why wouldn't we? Of course we're attached, we're in love. And I said, nope, everybody is a sovereign being. There is never a situation, and I've had people ask me this, like, aren't there good attachments? No.
I agree.
Short answer, no. There's never a good attachment. That even if, this woman had her boyfriend's best interest in mind, but they're mingling energy, and that is not positive. That there it ends up, whether the intent is for it to be symbiotic, which means mutually beneficial, it always seems to end up being parasitic one way or the other at some point.
Or it's codependent where both are weak and,
Yeah,
kind of feeding off the other one's weakness rather than, as you said, being a sovereign being.
yeah. Right. So we're sovereign beings. We come into this life independent, and we're here to learn how to be independent. So it doesn't mean you can't have people in your life helping you and falling in love with people, and 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 mingling with people. That's fine. But once your energy gets attached, then it's not a natural thing. It's not how we were meant to be. This is just what this is the information I've gotten, from doing a lot of this kind of work. And this is kind of become a bit of a specialty of mine. There's some energy workers who don't want to deal with this stuff at all. And I understand, because I'm going to start talking about stuff that's kind of creepy. So, the creepy stuff, they're like, I'm out. I don't want to do it, because there is a risk of these things coming after you. So if you remove an entity from someone, if you don't know what you're doing, they can attach to you. So
Right, right. And
anyway,
this is not about being in fear. This is about being being trained, being guided, knowing what your limits are, and just getting to a higher and higher place so that we're rising in love, not falling in love and giving away our power.
right, exactly. Yeah. So let you mentioned something about fear, which is very important. Many times these beings feed on fear. So if you go into a session with fear, they like that. That fuels the session in their favor. And I have the most powerful energy workers I've experienced remove these beings with love, which is the opposite of fear. So when love is applied, sometimes these beings, are some of the negative ones, have not ever really experienced that kind of unconditional love before in such a pure way. And it's shocking to them, and they like it, but they're not used to it. And excuse me, they get taken away, and they get transmuted into love, light, and healing energy up to the creator. Now, so I would just like to say, to underline this, that if you ever feel like you have an attachment, to not be do your best, try not to be afraid, and to seek someone out who knows what they're doing, um, to help get these things removed, because if you don't, it sucks. Especially when you can really feel they're starting to thwart your life. But the other thing is too, they feed on certain types of energies of yours, and fear is one of them, and also feelings of hopelessness and sadness, despair. They will thwart things in your life, and anger, by the way, too. these are the lower emotions. It's
Right.
there's
Jealousy, all the lower vibration
yes,
emotions is the perfect way
yes.
to put it.
So, some light workers call this loosh energy, Loosh, and there's a lot of loosh beings, loosh parasites, who so many people have them attached to them, where these beings just feed off of your loosh, and they thwart things in your life that make things go wrong for you. And then when you get upset about it, they feed off the energy. So they're very annoying.
It's
So
fuel. It's fuel. They're creating fuel for themselves.
exactly. So if you can kind of detach from the situation and realize, oh, I think I might have something like this going on, seek out somebody who's trained in this particular thing. Like I said, I am, if you want to reach out to me. And then not don't be afraid, um, especially after it's over, after the thing gets removed. You're done after that. It's not going to come back, because if you work with somebody who's trained, they make sure that this thing's escorted out of the building. It's like it's not going to come back and bother you again.
Right,
It's
right.
escorted out of the plane, plane, so that it gets transmuted, so it doesn't want to attach to anything ever again. But that said, so this woman years ago removed this, my relative from me, and then about a decade later, he came back, and somebody uh, did a scan on me and said, okay, he's back. And I did have fear, and I had a combination of fear and anger. I was mad, like, how dare he do this? And then I was fearful, like I remembered what it was like uh, when he was attached to me, and I really didn't like it. So um, it was an amazing thing. This woman was one of my teachers, and she basically said, "You're gonna do it yourself."
I was going
And
to say, what did you do to stand in your power? Because that's about releasing some victim energy, perhaps, or some martyrdom. Because I think that's a path that many of us walk of how do you move into your power without short circuiting it by getting angry? Because many of us can feel powerful when we're really very pissed off.
well,
But
it was
can we
yeah.
be calm and in our power?
Well, it was an unusual thing. I had not been trained in anything before, and it was not typical. So I'll tell you the story, but it 100% will not happen to anybody else. But I mean, maybe 99%. Maybe there's a 1% chance. So this was a contractual thing.
That's a great point to bring up. Tell us about that, Gregg.
Yeah. Again, in my book, and Wendy, you'll recognize this experience because um, well, anyway, I'll quickly as I can. So the woman said she could see him, where he was attached, two cords, the whole deal. And I was at work when this was going on.
Oh, how
Uh,
convenient.
I know,
Not.
right? And she basically said, "You're going to do it yourself. I'm not going to help you." And which I guess she had gotten messages from her guides. She, probably very easily could have done it, but I had no training. That was the other thing. But she got the strong message that I was going to do it myself. So I thought, all right, well, I'm not going to do it while it's broad daylight at 2 in the afternoon. I'm at my job in this corporate building, and luckily I did have a door on my office. But you know, the way I was meditating and doing things like this spiritual hygiene in the past was I was turning the lights off and getting in a lotus position. I thought, what if somebody just walks into my office, turns the lights on, and I'm there, you know, in the corner in the dark. That's not going to go over. There would be a lot of explaining to do. So anyway, I thought, all right, I'm just going to wait till I get home. But when I got up and walked to the water cooler to get some water, I could literally feel like I almost fell over because my cage was being rattled. I started getting
Mm.
disoriented, and it was my grandfather. He was rattling my cage. He was egging me on. So anyway, I just put my hand over my face, and I instantly There was no preparation. None of this, all this defies logic because I had no training. So I put my hand over my eyes. I saw him. So I saw him off to the side. I could see the cords. One was on my eye and one was on my back. Um, so I sent him love, thinking, all right, you know, let's let's try to work this out. And he shot some sort of weird energy sucking bubbles that landed on my feet. And at first I didn't know what was going on. And then I realized he's actually not being contrite at all. He's trying to continue messing with me. So I got mad. And then what happened next, I can't even explain. I thought I'd lost my mind because all of a sudden I realized I had turned into a 40-foot red dragon, and my skin was lit with blue flame. um, I had, and prior to that, I did pull, I think, one of the cords off my back and I cut it, but I'd forgotten about the other one. And I didn't do, my conscious mind wasn't doing anything. My higher self took over and knew what to do and just started blasting him with this energy. And how I realized that I hadn't gotten the other cord off of me was he was attached to this cord, but the energy coming from me was like a hurricane, and he was horizontal, still dangling from the cord attached to me, and the energy coming from me was just blasting him. And I even thought in my mind, like, I don't think, I wanted to destroy him. That's how mad I was. And I thought, well, that's probably not good. And then, years later, I'm like, I don't even know if that's possible. I don't know if you can actually destroy anything. Energy can't be destroyed. So anyway, but whatever the case, cut the final tie and told him to never bother me or anyone in our family, and to never come back. So that was that. So, I don't think it's going to happen to, it's very specific to me. My higher self knew what to do. It's the only time that's ever happened, where spontaneously my higher self took over. But anyway, the woman who was helping me actually tapped in and watched the entire thing. So she emailed me what she saw. And I emailed her, and our emails crossed, and she described everything that was amazing to me that she saw it. So
What fantastic validation. I mean, that's just perfect. And I mean, it really was you getting in your power in so many ways. And Gregg, you said you weren't trained for this, but that's your left brain. That's your ego
yeah,
saying, I don't know what to do. I'm not trained, because you don't consciously remember it in this lifetime. But in those urgent moments, I mean, and it doesn't have to be an emergency, we absolutely can tap into what our higher self knows, that wisdom of our soul, everything, that our guides know that they can share with us. So how perfect.
yeah. Well, thank you. Well, and then after that, I started just doing removals for people, again, untrained, and it's not something I would recommend because, I mean, I was doing some pretty ridiculous things. I helped within the next day. There was a friend of mine who thought he had an attachment, and I came in and I did some work on him, and then I did this weird thing that I just felt like I needed to do it. I felt so good about coming into my own power and everything that I started throwing like fireworks off into the distance, these balls of fire and stuff. And as soon as I did that, I thought, well, that's going to attract attention, not the right kind of attention. And I saw this thing come at me. And again, the same woman who had witnessed the other stuff watched this as well. And her reaction, when this was going on was, the crazy guy's got a gun. Get out of the way. He's shooting stuff off. And then she could see this giant black thing, this shadow being come towards me. And she was trying to, tell me, oh my God. And this thing was the size of probably 10 feet in diameter, had the face of a bat, and just came right at me. Now, I wasn't afraid. Um, and I just looked at it and I blasted it with this love energy, and it went away. And that's when I realized, okay, there's something, I must have had special training, or I've got some protection going on, or something from a past life, or my higher self knows what to do, because that, if I'd stayed in my conscious mind, I would have peed my pants. This giant monster came at me. And instead of freaking out or being scared, it was just like, okay, have some of this. And it was love, it was very powerful. It's a strange combination that I've never been aware of. It's very powerful love, um, like warrior, like love energy. So, there's different kinds of love, but this is a type of love I'd never understood before. And it was reserved for that kind of work, where it's just awesome, angelic strength and love. And anyway, so that got taken care of. And then after that, I thought that was foolish. I shouldn't try to test any of this stuff. I should realize the gift that it is, and to only use it when it's
Use
needed.
it wisely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there is an important expression of, we do need to take care of ourselves first. I mean, it's putting our own oxygen mask on first before you help others. And there is the very wise expression of, don't rush in where angels fear to tread. And I did some of that and had some real issues from that. And I didn't realize I was out of sync with what I was supposed to be doing. I was rushing in too fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, let me get back to categorizing the types of things that
Please.
can bother you in terms of attachments. So the first we talked about, which is living persons, and then the second, as I've also discussed, is relatives, or somebody it doesn't have to be a relative even. It's just somebody who's passed on, and there's something about, they're not moving on to another life. They're kind of hanging around the earthly plane. There's something about what activities that you're doing, that they're wanting to kind of feed off of that energy. And I found it from a friend of mine who he used to deliver. First, he used to work in a cancer ward for children, a pediatric cancer ward. So his basically his life was dealing with cancer kids. Many of them died, and he had a bond with one family, and one child, like a 9-year-old girl, died. So I didn't know anything about this, and I was doing some energy work on him, and I saw an attachment, but it was like a bald-headed kid. I was like, what is this? I didn't understand what I was seeing. And I pushed the being away, and it snapped back like on a rubber band. And that's when I realized, oh, there's a cord. So, I pulled the cord, I cut the cord. I imagined, some cutting instrument, and then, healed the area and fortified it and all that stuff. And then told the being to move on, to go to the light, go on, go find your relatives. So when I talked to my friend about this, and this is in the book, this was a unbelievable story. So he said, because I said, I remember you worked in a cancer ward. Did you have any special bond with any kid? And he said, yes, I did. He said, but you're not going to believe this story. There was one family that came in, and young girl died. He said, I think that's who you saw. And he said, I couldn't take it anymore. Like after that one, that one did me in. Like he really got close to the family, and it was too much. So he decided he wanted to transfer. So he transferred to the maternity ward. Talk about complete change. So now he's bringing kids into the world instead of ushering them out. And he was prepping a woman for birth, like 3 years later. And she grabs his arm and says, I'm the woman who you helped my daughter die. my
Oh,
9-year-old daughter, now you're helping me bring a child into the world. And we burst into tears. We could
mhm.
not believe it. So that's all of this came around, and so the point
Full
is,
circle.
it was, but this kid was attached to him because as she died, she liked his energy, and as benevolent as, she liked him. She wasn't trying to do anything bad to him,
Mhm,
but it was still came across as parasitic. That's how I saw it. So she was looking for comfort in him
mhm.
because he was supplying him. So anyway, it got taken care of. So it's an interesting thing that these beings they can be relatives, but they don't have to be. They can just be somebody you've had good interactions with. That's a perfect example. Now,
Or
the other,
poor interactions too. Either way,
yes,
the dueling neighbor or boss or coworker from a previous life, if not from this one.
yeah, I would say intense interactions, positive and
Yes,
negative.
yes,
So,
yes,
yeah,
perfect.
right. So the next set of beings are non-human beings, and they go from a range of non-intelligent beings that are almost animal intelligence, or just they're just these. Sometimes they look like tadpoles to me. They're not. They're not human. They're not. I don't know what they are. But they're attached. They're loose feeding beings, and I see these quite a bit. They're very easily removed, but they're there to thwart people, and they tend to be a little more subtle, and they can get down into somebody's energy body and just kind of embed themselves for a long time and just slow somebody's energy down. And they can bring about illnesses and, infirmities and things like that. And then it moves on up to more intelligent versions of these, to the point of them being, demonic, which, those are the least pleasant, I think, and those beings are, um, they know what they're doing. And they sometimes have a contract with you. So if you've done anything in a past life, literally like, a Faust situation where I wanted to experience good things in this life, so there's the whole contractual thing where there's a selling of the soul and all that kind of stuff. I've seen that kind of stuff quite a bit, where sometimes the beings are not even so much attached, but they're on the periphery of someone's energy, and they're waiting, and they're like, this is the life that we've been waiting for, so we have a right to this soul. Just in the past month, I've removed several of these,
Mhm.
so it just seems like the timing is going on here. And what we do to remove these beings is, I ask the person to say out loud, a recital of, I'm a sovereign being, all agreements that I've made, to my knowledge and without my knowledge, all contracts I've signed, and all verbal agreements are all now null and void. I'm stepping into my sovereignty now, and none of these agreements are valid. So then the beings usually are not happy with that, and they start trying to mess around and wreak havoc, and that's when we pull them out. We usher them out with the guides. The guides,
Mhm.
like Archangel Michael and other guides, just pull them away. Um,
Escorts, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So that's those are not fun. And sometimes those things can be fully implanted. So it's not a cordial attachment. I see them kind of embedded in somebody's energetic body. And lately, I've seen something really unusual that I hadn't even thought to look at. Is sometimes the attachment isn't in this lifetime; it's in another lifetime.
Mhm.
So sometimes, as I'm looking at the person's um, energy field, their guides just show me like these silhouettes of them in other lives, and they're like, okay, 6 lives back, they have
Right,
an attachment,
right.
and that needs to be healed. And I didn't even know that was a thing until
That
this
is a
year.
thing.
Yeah, until
Speaking
this
as a
year.
past life regressionist, that
Yeah,
is a thing.
yeah. So Yeah, I've seen just a few times I've seen that, and that's a good thing to to get taken care of, because through the expanse of your lives, the energy is flowing, and it can be interrupted and held back, past lives back,
Mhm.
um, and that can thwart you. So anyway,
Well,
that's
emotions are timeless. I mean, they keep coming with us. So we've got the pro of our soul wisdom is all there to tap into once we learn how to tap into it. But we've also got, and obviously emotions can be fantastic and high vibration, like peace and love and joy and philanthropy and whatever it might be. And then we've already covered the low vibration energies. So it can be both, but they're timeless. So that's why we need to address it through all space and time,
yeah,
all life forms.
absolutely. So yeah, so that was kind of a learning experience for me when someone's guide showed me. Like I said, it was like a playing cards, or
Hmm.
here are their lives, and this one needs to
Yeah.
be addressed. um, so all of those are removed, and then and usually there's a free flow of energy quite after that. And then the final kind of attachment that I see in people is actually not has nothing to do with a being. Sometimes, well, not directly. Sometimes I see what's called etheric implants. So what are those, Wendy? I've helped you with those.
Hmm.
I see them in a lot of people, and they're different. And I don't always see the same type of thing. And I first noticed them years ago, where it looked like there was a shard of metal in somebody's energy body. Um, and then sometimes I've seen them that looks like pieces of machinery with wires all over the
Hmm.
place, and they're kind of sloppy looking sometimes.
Hmm.
Sometimes they look old and rusty, and then other times they look like devices that were not made by humans. And I feel like these implants are, from just the feeling and the information I've gotten, is they're tracking devices, and they are loose generating devices. Um, tend to be from extraterrestrial in origin, because they have technology,
Hmm.
and they can be from thousands of years ago, believe it or not, or they can be more
Absolutely. Yeah.
recent. And so these things are relatively easy to get out. They don't put up a fight, whereas some beings really do. They put up a fight. They don't want to come out, and they'll try to
Hmm.
slow things down. But yeah, these implants, as I call them, are they're easy to get out, and but they need to, they create a wound as well when you pull them out,
Hmm.
and they need to be healed as well. And I've had I've had I do a lot of work on women in particular, and I've some of them misunderstand what I'm saying. Like I'm removing an implant. Like, I don't have any breast implants. I'm like, no, that's not different kind of implant. So
An energy implant, an
right,
etheric implant,
right,
meaning maybe it's in your left forearm. And if you were to have an x-ray, or if you were to have surgery there for some reason, you're not going to find the piece of metal that Gregg is describing or whatever, but it's
exactly.
energetically, etherically there.
It's not a physical thing. Yeah.
Right, right.
Um, yes. So that's kind of wraps up the full range of, I think I wrote them down. There's 6 types of attachments that I notice with the implants being
Sure.
one of them. So
Sure. Well, Gregg, thank you for that. Can I give some suggestions now? And I'm sure you'll have more, because certainly you can work with an energy worker. There's also things you can do for yourself. There's some very powerful prayers, and I'll share 2 of those, and you'll have them on the recording. And the first one I'm going to share is the Thank You Angels prayer. And I personally use this daily to clear my energy. It's been one of the most wonderful techniques that I've used to raise my own energy and to let go of things. And what may be showing up too, in addition to Gregg's excellent summary, is you may have your own inner wounded child, something just really upsetting. And it didn't have to be that, quote, big a deal, but it was upsetting to you at the time because you were an infant, you were a child, maybe you were in the womb and your parents had a knockdown, screaming fight. And guess what? Studies show infants can hear. They absolutely can hear, not only physically, but energetically. So, whatever it may have been, so things may be your own inner child is part of the energy that you're clearing, or it may be what's called your shadow self, which is the part of you that you most dislike, most fear, most makes you just crazy pants. So it can be, triggered by other people. Like an example of you're noticing a certain individual and you're like, oh my goodness, that person is so arrogant. That really bugs me. I do not enjoy arrogant people. I prefer more grounded, humble people. And it's just the perfect opportunity to say, hey, let's just shine the mirror the other way. Is there anything that I do that might unintentionally be coming across as arrogant to people? And often it might be because you're shy or you don't have the best social skills. So it can come across as arrogance, even though it's not, energetically that, but it can come across that way. So certainly do think about, do I have my wounded child self showing up? And if you do, I just take that younger me, and it might be the 24-year-old me. It doesn't have to be under 5 or under 12 or whatever. And I just meditate and just sit down, and I invite her to sit in a chair right across from me. And I just look at her and just say, what's going on? What do you need? Why are you so sad or angry or feeling powerless or whatever it might be? And just look at why, and then just see, hey, I'm older and wiser now. I certainly don't know everything. The longer we live, the more we learn. There's more to experience and more to learn. But I've got resources I can help that, 12-year-old me or that 5-year-old me with, or maybe it's me in the past life who just didn't understand something a couple thousand years ago that now makes perfect sense to me. So you can just be healing that energy. But the prayer that I use, let's just do it together. And as I said, this is something you can do for yourself. So just invite you to get nice and comfortable. And we're going to do the thank you angels prayer 3 times to clear our energy. So I'm just going to close my eyes and invite you to get in a nice, calm space. So let's just take a big breath in together through the nose and hold that for a moment and feel yourself settling into your wonderful body. Feel your DNA starting to heal at a cellular level as you really tap into your own wisdom. When you're ready, on your own natural rhythm, breathe out through your mouth anything you do not need. Just let it go. Letting go of any monkey mind, any busy brain. And now that we're settled nicely in our bodies, and we've got this beautiful protection and high energy all around us, I'd like to invite in the angels to help clear everyone's energy. So thank you, angels, for sweeping your nets up through the core of Mother Earth, through everyone's 4-body system, their physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional bodies, removing any energy that does not serve us in this time and place, any energy that does not serve our life purpose that we're here for now, taking that energy up to the light, up to source love for healing now, bringing down marvelous peace and love and joy and purpose in its place, and helping us live our wonderful destiny that we have all planned and that just makes our hearts sing. We're going to do that twice more. Thank you, angels, for sweeping your nets up through the core of Mother Earth, through everyone's 4-body system, everyone listening live now, everyone listening in the future, removing any energy that is not ours, anything that is tampering with our sovereignty, meaning we only carry our own beautiful energy. Any energy that's not ours, any energy in combination with someone else, sending it up to the light for healing now. Bringing down in its place beautiful white light so that we can be who we are meant to be as our higher selves, but here on the planet in a body, in our current lifetime now. Helping cleanse and clear all past lifetimes, any parallel or simultaneous, any future lives where appropriate, all types of life forms that we may have chosen to be on planet or off. One more time. Thank you, angels, for sweeping your nets up through the core of Mother Earth, removing any energy from us that does not serve us in this current lifetime. Anything that is holding us back, be it pain, disconnection, anxiety, depression, anything that is holding us back, sending it down our grounding cords now, from the sacral chakra across the hips for women, down through our root chakra. Women ground from the sacral chakra, men ground from the root chakra below it at the base of the tailbone spine, sending our energy down our legs, down out the bottom of our feet, activating our joy tap roots fully on the bottom of our feet, sending our energy down to that magnetic core of Mother Earth, where we can pull up everything that we need to support us in our beautiful bodies, including the fountain of youth energy. Thank you, angels. It is done, so be it. And you're welcome to open your eyes when you're ready. You can slowly come back to your body, feeling rested, relaxed, rejuvenated, and feeling more in your power, knowing it's just that simple that you can just take 2 minutes a day to say that prayer. And you could hear there was a little bit of structure to it. I asked the angels to come up through the magnetic core of Mother Earth and to go through my entire body. And then your choice, you can send what doesn't serve you up to the light and then bring down what you want more of. Or you can also ground your energy, because if you tend to be kind of spacey and up in your head a lot or up above your head and it's hard to be in your body, then it can be useful to ground. So I tend to do 2 up to the light and 1 down, but that's just me. You can do whatever's right for you. And just speak aloud and just ask to release whatever's not serving you. I mean, you can get more specific with it too and say, help me heal my inner child, help me embrace my shadow, help remove any implants. So just whatever comes from your heart, but you can hear the structure of it. Any comments on that, Gregg? Was that helpful?
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
wonderful, wonderful. And I've got one more, and this one I'm going to read. It's from Aurelia Louise Jones' Prayers to the 7 Sacred Flames, and I'll just hold that up for a second. So here's the book, and it was a lot of reflection on that. And I'm going to read her prayer for healing through releasing negative energies, because what a perfect specific prayer. So again, I invite you, you're welcome to just relax and close your eyes if that's a way for you to more take this energy in, or you can just take some notes or know that you've got this on the recording, whatever's right for you. So here is Aurelia Louise Jones' prayer to the 7 sacred flames, healing through releasing negative energies. I am a master of divine expression. I now release all separation and limitations that no longer serve my path of light. I release all vows of poverty and limitations that I ever made in this and past incarnations. I release all imprints, implants, negative thought forms, black magic spells and curses, negative patterns of the human ego, illness and disease patterns, and all energies that no longer serve my path of light. By the intervention of divine grace, with my full intent, I choose to release all energies of separation, limitations, and all blockages back to the universe. I ask for these energies be purified and transformed into the highest form of light. I invoke the assistance of the angelic realms, Master Hilarion, Mother Mary, Archangel Raphael, my monad, and all ascended masters, to release from my being and world all levels of energy that are less than my divine blueprint of perfection and my eternal victory in the light through my ascension. And so be it, beloved, I am. So that again is another way. I mean, it can be as simple as prayer. And if you feel like you've got an issue and something you want to clear, that's a great thing to do. If you're having your cage rattled, like Gregg described, then that can be a great time to ask for help. And Gregg, I went through kind of the same experience as you. Originally, I was having help from spiritual teachers and healers to remove energy that didn't serve me, whether it was an implant or whatever it was, or an old, echo, and it often shows up on our body as pain. So if you've suddenly got any type of pain, I would just do that thank you angels prayer and just simply see if you can release that energy yourself. And if you can't, and it continues, my rule of thumb personally is 24 hours. I don't let things fester and become a bigger and bigger issue, but I'll work, very, very hard. And I've got a lot of tools to be able to clear things. And if I cannot clear it myself in 24 hours, then that's the point when I ask for help. And it can be very powerful to work with someone else, and you can do a lot of your own work and learn how to clear it, even though you thought you didn't know how, because you can just share the impressions with the healer. So they can be helping. I mean, that's sacred space. That's what it means to me for someone to hold space for you, is they're witnessing you in a very loving, benevolent, powerful way, but they're not trying to fix you because you're broken, because you're not broken. You're just doing your own work and you're ready to release, whatever that next issue is or whatever that next layer is. So you can do it together. And then, this may be something that you're drawn to, and you are able to, bless and clear other people and help them ground or help them clear their energy, or, whatever it might be. It can be just as simple as putting your hand on their shoulder and just saying, I care about you. I see you. I hear you. And I mean, that can be very, very helpful to people. It's a bigger deal, than we realize. And that can be, just allow them to then let go of what they didn't need. And it just naturally goes up to the light without having any of the knowledge of what we've talked about for the last hour here. So anything else, Gregg? What should we wrap up with? I do want to say, please do not get what I jokingly call first year medical student disease. Do not create problems for yourself because you've now heard this discussion. This is about empowerment. This is about being, sovereign and being the beings that we're meant to be, where we really are our I am presence, or our higher self, or however you want to express that. So don't feel because you've heard this discussion that, oh my goodness, now I've got this and now I've got that. And oh, I was already worried about that. That's disempowerment.
Right.
So please don't go to that place. Go to the place of empowerment and knowing that you absolutely are a master. You're a master of your energy. You're a master of your life. And that's what I want to leave you with.
We have one question in the group.
Oh,
in the
please.
Facebook group. Yeah. And it's a good one. It's from Mary Andromeda. She says, can we attach unknowingly to someone? How do you know? So yes, you can. You can. How do you know? Well, look at the pattern that happened with that I described earlier in the broadcast. So this woman was very codependent with her boyfriend, and she was in his business, in his daily business, trying to correct him, trying to control him, basically, with her words and with her physical actions. And the extension of that is sending out an energetic runner to them, and cordially attaching. So just be careful about your relationships with people, so that you contain your energy within yourself, and that you're not sending out runners to other people, that you're not trying to control people. I mean, this goes to your kids as well. I see a lot of
Absolutely.
mother-daughter situations. you know um
That's the classic, is the mother-daughter
is
or spouses. Yeah,
yeah,
that where the
yeah,
codependency comes in.
those are the two, the
Yeah.
spousal things. And then I mean, it could be father-daughter too, but it's parent-child, to
Right,
be more
right.
specific, and that's very common. So just be aware of it. If you're a parent, try not to be too domineering on your kids.
We're
If
meant to
you're
be empowering, I mean, children are just these marvelous beings loaned to us that we're so fortunate to be chosen, and we're here to help them with develop their abilities, not to do it for them, which
Yes.
it sounds like what that girlfriend was doing. And again, it may have started from a place of love, but that's a place of ego. And it's also, you're not doing your own work when you're so busy fixing someone else. So I think the mere fact that was it Marianne asked the question?
Yes.
Okay, I think the mere fact that she's asking it means that she knows how to stay in her own lane and to pull her energy back. Because you're going to get from the interactions with the other person, they're going to be like, "Whoa, you're sensitive enough. You're gonna know." It's a
Yeah.
great question though to look at it from the other perspective.
And it's just a good reminder for us all to, stay in your lane here with your relationships. Keep
Exactly,
your energy
exactly,
contained, and, don't try to get so involved with other
exactly.
people.
We we
We're here to
talked
learn.
about we talked about that in some of our earlier broadcasts, Greg, where we can get newbie healer disease, where where we're just like trying to heal everybody and everything, and it's very, didn't realize it at the time, but it's coming from a place of ego, and it's not possible, it's not productive, and just stay in our own lanes. So, and just that sovereignty, I think, is really really the message. So thank you so much to everyone for being here today, or for listening on the replay at wakingupspiritually.com. And if you would like to learn more about working with me, please come to my website, wendyrosewilliams.com. And I do offer complimentary 15-minute phone appointments, and we can talk about whether I may be of service to you at this time. So thank you again.
And you can come see me at greggkirk.com. It's GREGGKIRK.com. If you need energy work, or if you've got any attachments. So thank you, Wendy. And thank you everyone for joining in today, or like Wendy said, and if you're watching this on a future broadcast, you can check us out at wakingupspiritually.com, or you probably come in through our Facebook group. So thank you, and keep checking out our future broadcasts.
Bye now.